From the deep, dark reaches of Star Trek Online comes Nikodas, Tabbytha, and Grebog with another episode of Fleet Action Report.
Hello, and welcome to Fleet Action Report, the show where we don't just play the game, but we teach you how to play the game.
That was Nikodas. I'm Tabbytha, and here is Grebog.
Computer Run Program for episode 212. It's an Escort, Charlie Brown. If you'd like to support us, you can do that by being here. That's support. You can also follow us. We also have a YouTube channel. You know, all the things. You can buy us a cup of coffee, even if you want to do that, which is ko-fi.com/GREBOG. Yeah. And we make no money, so any money that comes into this stuff, we end up spending on probably in game, or I know we bought some hardware and stuff that help make things easy. So who wants to go first?
Tabby can have it.
No, Nikodas can have it.
I said it first.
All right, fine. I guess I'll go first. Well, pretty much I've been continuing my voyages in Panda Remix, and I'm pretty much done. We've got my partner and I have got to farm up the bones of Garash or whatever whatever the bones are that lets you get the heirlooms, and that's literally all we need to do. So we got to do several more heroic runs or a couple more mythic runs, and we're all set. And so we've just been kind of, given our kind of lowish gear level, we figure if we just kind of run a heroic every day, we can get what we need, unless we get lucky enough to get into get somebody to carry us through a mythic.
Are you talking dungeons or raids?
Raids.
Oh, raids.
Gotcha.
In the remix, I'm willing to help. It's just my availability is probably not the easiest to work with.
Yeah. But I mean, if you've got a takey person, I'm a healy person, and Nimue is a ostensibly a DPS-ish person. So I mean, we might be able to just kind of go in there and solo at least. I don't know about a heroic, but we can probably solo something.
I could probably handle normal for the most part.
But I mean, that's only one bone. Whereas if we go in if we do a group, we can do heroic and get 4 bones.
I also have, being 476, I also make it so, like, if I'm in a group and we try to go together, it'll be more likely they will take you for, say, a mythic or whatnot run,
Right. Of course, also, like, my gear, like, given that I have nothing else to spend bronze on, I can spend bronze on my gear and start making myself more desirable.
Cool.
So I can coat myself in bronze and make myself more desirable. Yeah. Anyway, other than that, I've been playing lots of Fabledom. Thank you, Nikodas.
You're very welcome.
I love that game so much. But off to you, Nikodas. Speaking of,
The Sims has sucked me in.
oh no.
They have a new expansion out that's essentially an online dating service, and you can go on blind dates and whatnot, and it's kind of interesting. They've also added, so there's a metric now that measures your relationship status, and it can swing good or it can swing bad, and you can have a hot and steamy relationship, or you can fall apart and the relationship be dissolved and whatnot. It's kind of interesting.
Well, I mean,
Oh
Um,
my.
can you do what's apparently the new common thing for dating?
What's that?
yeah, you'll have to enlighten me.
Apparently, you just send dick pics to every woman you meet, and
Oh,
eventually someone will respond.
no, not precisely, but give it time, or somebody will come up with a mod. I'm sure that will let you do it. They already have other weird mods out there for the game. Um, I've been doing a fair bit of STO actually. Beyond my daily, I've been working on some characters that I've neglected. I have one in particular that I really, really, really need to get leveled. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much been it. I think I've played like an hour on Final Fantasy 14, and I haven't touched any other games that I can think of right now. Well, other than I did play a bit of Roblox. I played with my youngest kid, and we dinked around on a couple of things on there that I kind of like. But yeah, that's been it for me. Grebog, take the reins.
Um, life has been a big thing going on for me. Yeah. But outside of that, I've been trying to get my dailies done. I need one more day, and I have the current event done. I'm closing in on the event campaign. Um, wow, I don't know. I like remix and whatnot. It's just now there's like my entire guild's like done. So my I like running with people, and so there's no one to run with over there. It kind of has making it not as fun to do. Yeah, but the whole new event started in WoW, and now I've been doing some of that. But outside of that, I like STO. STO has been like part of it, and I've been playing Astroneer a little bit. Um, Astroneer's a fun space survival game. It looks very kid oriented. Though I would put it. I mean, sure, kids can play it, and they might actually do better than I do on it. But there's a lot to it, and so it may not be the easiest, I would say, kid game. But I've been wrong about other things, so. But that's been my week. So then we have what's going on with ST. Oh wait, no, we got to do something else first.
Yeah. So we had a death in the family. I mean the greater Star Trek family. So we're going to take a moment to remember the fallen. The individual in question is Patty, and I'm going to say this wrong, Yasutake. Feel free to correct me on that, chat. She was born September 6th, 1953, and she unfortunately passed 3 days ago on August 5th, 2024. She's known for playing Nurse Ogawa on TNG, basically Dr. Crusher's primary assistant. So I'm going to call for a moment of silence for Patty Yasutake. Thank you for being respectful. Tabbytha, tell us about this week in STO.
This week in STO starting today. It's bonus XP weekend through the 12th. So you have 4 days to get all your experience and expertise rewards be doubled. So even if you are max level, you can still take advantage of this because all those experience points you get go towards your specialization points. So if you still have any specializations that need to be leveled up, like I do, like Constable, you can. I just had to pause for a moment to let that sink in because, never mind. Uh, Now is a good time to farm up experience to get fill in those specialization points.
All right. There is a bundle sale that started today on PC. 35% off all ship bundles and expansion bundles. This lasts until the 12th, so you have 4 days. I would like to point out that apparently the Heritage bundle that was just released is included in this sale. At least that's what I was told.
It's a ship bundle.
Yeah, but usually they don't include the newest bundle out, and I've already bought it, but I was told by others that it is included. So if you haven't picked that up, this is actually a better sale than the 25% off we had when it went live. So, take advantage of it while you got the opportunity.
And, speaking of events, the featured event is A Good Day to Die, which you can see on my screen right now. Here, let me some of the noise. This goes until August 15th to get your 14 days of completion. So if you haven't started, you have a week left. You're gonna have to work hard and then buy out for the end reward. That's if you want the end reward. So it is also part of the year-long event campaign. So all progress you make each day for this event gives you 50 more points towards your event campaign. In this event, you can do 6 different TFOs, all Klingon based or themed. And Defense of Starbase One, To Hell with Honor, Battle of the Binary Stars, Remain Klingon, Operation Riposte, Best Served Cold are all possible. And you get this handy dandy Temporal Disorder reward. It gives you multiple ships to come in and help you from alternate timelines, 4 of them. And I think they have fixed the bugs on it. Also to note, you will get 3 of the featured TFO reward boxes, which will get you upgrade tokens or specialization points. That's your choice.
I would also like to point out that this console does have a passive that makes you immune to all damage for 3 seconds when your hull points dip below 50%. And it can trigger once every 60 seconds. To me, it sounds like a very effective survival passive, but I haven't tested it, so I don't know how effective it actually is. But it sounds good on paper.
It might be amazing for a tank. Yeah. Because if you can get immunity and take even more damage, yeah.
Well, and it gives you 3 seconds for other cooldowns.
I'm curious. I'm curious if our
able to trick over things. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm curious if the subspace fracture tunnel from the Voven will cut down the cooldown. Because if it does, you could get it even faster.
I don't know if it would affect the passive. It would certainly affect the clicky, the temporal disorder.
Yes.
I don't know about the passive, but the clicky is a taunt. So even that can help with survivability, I guess. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys can all blame me for the show tonight. This was my doing. I made a suggestion and we ended up falling down a rabbit hole.
You had 2 neurodivergents start focusing on, okay, so you want to do this. Well, what exactly does this mean? And we ran.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the name of the episode, it's an Escort Charlie Brown. That was my doing as well. So this whole thing is my fault. So here we go.
Yeah, it started from let's do a show about the types of ships, and when we from the premise, it was okay, I mean, there are just a handful of types of ships, right? I mean, you got your and then we're well, how exactly do you define a type of ship beyond because I mean, there's more than just cruiser escort in science, because then you got warbirds, and then you got destroyers, and then you got so we're like, okay, how do you account for those? So then we started looking at mastery packages, and holy crap, it's an onion. Just so many layers and layers and layers of types of ships in STO, and oh, it's
So
it's
today we're going to break down the escorts for you, and some of their. Well, we're going to go through all the subtypes of escorts, and then we'll touch on some escort like ships. So let's start off. Escorts. The definition of escorts that I found comes directly from STOWiki, and I quote: Escorts are compact, maneuverable vessels capable of extremely high damage at the expense of defense and survivability. End quote. Some of the basic information is hull points vary from 10,000 at the minimum to 41,745, with a modifier from 0.9 to 1.21. In essence, there's kind of a lengthy equation to determine the final value. Apparently, it is a simpler equation than the shield one. However, each ship is going to be a little bit different, or at least family of ships is going to be a little bit different. And similarly with shields, they run from 0.9 to 1.35. And yeah, we're not going to get into the math. That's just too much.
we're not a
Escorts,
math show.
Well, I
right?
mean, if we want to dig into the math at some point, I think that's going to have to be an entirely separate episode.
I would imagine so, and we would probably have people sleeping like I used to do in math class. I'm kidding. I was actually a good student. Escorts have high inertia, rating from 60 all the way up to 90, making them the nimblest ships in the game, with the exception of a few destroyers. Did you actually mean to have juggernauts in here? I thought juggernauts.
Well, when juggernauts were on there, this is why I pulled the juggernauts out, because the juggernauts, similar to destroyers, however, they are big and slow like cruisers.
Okay. And those ships tend to be slower turning. All tier 6 ships, escorts, have an experimental weapon slot for escorts, raptors, raiders, and destroyers. And I actually think that is accurate.
Yeah, warships are the only ones out of this that don't, I think.
I
well,
believe
that
so.
in the
I believe
carrier
that is correct, but they have an extra weapon slot, so that's fine. All right, and now we're going to break down. So that's the general information about all the ships we're going to talk about, and then we're going to break down each subcategory very briefly. And Grebog, you get to start us off here.
So most escorts that you're going to find that are tier 6 are going to have a 4-3 layout. Now, some of them may have a 5-2, but I think almost all basic escorts are 4-3 with their experimental. Now, the mastery package, this is going to be core through a lot of these escort style ships. They have precise weapons as their first point, which is +5 accuracy. Tactical maneuvers, which is +5% defense. Enhanced weapon systems, which is +10% kinetic and energy damage. And then they have devastating weaponry as their top, which is +2.5% crit chance. Yeah. And if you don't know what I mean by mastery package, if you look on the main sheet of your page, like I have on my in my screen, you have the Starship Mastery unlocks. It's the 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's what is called the mastery package. It's before you get to the Starship trait, and that will be identical almost across every escort that you're going to pick up.
It's worth noting that if you upgrade a tier 5 escort to a tier 5U, they also get this same mastery package.
Yes.
Then
Tabby,
we have the
Sorry.
advanced escort. Those have a 4-3 layout. just like the regular Escort. I've got the advanced Escort on my screen. The includes the Hestia, Cerberus, and the Phoenix, and of course the most well-known, the Prometheus. The has it doesn't have the tactical maneuvers plus 5% defense, but it does have the multi-vector assault mode where it splits into 3 pieces. And you pretty much command the like the little bitty saucer, and then like the two parts with nacelles each split off in an attack. And it does have the default Escort mastery package. So the mastery package that Grebog just showed you, this one will have that. Just instead of having the tactical maneuvers, it has the multi-vector assault mode.
I would like to point out, actually, that's not accurate. The multi-vector assault mode is a console. For the mastery, I'm in one of these ships. I'm in the Terran Hydra. And the difference is we have enhanced weapon banks, which is a plus 15 critical severity. So we don't have the defense, we get critical severity instead, which is interesting. That didn't show up on the wiki.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Okay.
So it's closer to a raider than.
But
Yes.
if I recall, the console for multi-vector assault mode can't be put on any other type of ship.
The original MVAM cannot. The newer one, the Hydra console, can, but it deactivates the Hydra or the multi-vector. You can still use the Hydra clicky though.
Okay. Good to know.
But the original one can only go on an advanced escort, so that's interesting. Next on our list is the Andorian escorts. These are 5-2 plus the experimental. However, on the tier 5 versions, they have to, in the 5th slot, they have to have their wing cannons. On the tier 6 versions, you can actually move those wing cannons onto a tier 6 ship. So if you want to use those, you can. But otherwise, it's a free slot. You can put whatever you want in it. Although I have read that those wing cannons are among the most powerful weapons in the game. And their mastery package is the same as the default escort.
And now we have the blockade runner, which escort, which very similar. It's the steam runner in Appalachia, which I have here on my screen. The Appalachia version. It is a 4-3 with an experimental, which is very similar, like, similar to most of the escorts, and it has the same mastery package as all the other escorts. It just has a different look and different seating. That's where all this is gonna boil down to, is like your seating for a lot of these. That is what makes the ship great or not.
Sometimes the turn rate too.
Yeah, the turn rate. This has a base turn rate of 16. It does. See, this doesn't have. They don't put the inertia rating though on here. Well, let's see. I should be able to find. On the STOWiki, they have the inertia rating. And please give STOWiki some patience. They've apparently had a server hardware failure or something like that recently, and are getting things back to normal. Yeah, it has an inertia rating of 60, so it's not bad. Oh, I guess we should. Inertia rating seems like a weird stat to look at if you don't know what that means. Cruisers are down at 20. The easiest way I always remember it, think of what you would have to have your inertial dampener set to. On cruisers that are flinging around and spinning and doing hard, fast turns because they don't have as much mass, they would have to set it to 90 because they They need more inertial dampening. Well, cruisers that are taking slow, casual turns only have to do a 20. That's the way I remember it in my head.
Fair.
Sorry, tangent.
Tabby.
All right, you good?
Yep.
All right, so next up we have the Strike Wing Escorts, which I actually don't own any of, but these include things like our Akira, or the Alita Heavy Strike Wing Escort. Let me pull that one up here. We all love the look of the Akira. All Tier 6 heavy escorts are considered Strike Wing escorts. The mastery package is the same as the default escort, from the notes here, unless somebody notes differently in game. But from the Strike Wing escort, you get fighters. You get a hangar bay.
I did a little bit more research on this. So at the tier 5 level, there are heavy escorts that are not that don't have a hangar. Most of them are in the Akira family, and originally they were meant to be torpedo boats. They tended to come with consoles and stuff that were like multi-fire torpedoes or phaser, you know, turrets or whatever. But at tier 6, they basically flipped them all to heavy escort carriers was the original name, and then they changed that to strike wing escorts, hence the confusion. But if you're looking at tier 5 ships, there actually are still a few that are heavy escorts. You can do the light escort there too, Tabby.
Now the light escorts are NX. There's only one ship in that class, and that's the NX class. What's that?
There's two, the
Cabot.
NX refit and the legendary.
Cabot's also a light escort.
Oh,
yeah. Well, I mean the NX family.
I didn't know that. NX class variants and Cabot.
See,
and the Shran, which is part of the Cabot family.
Oh, is that a light escort?
Yeah, the Shran and Cabot are both light escorts.
They're still 5-2, right?
The Cabot's 4-3, and the Shran is 4-2. That's weird.
But with but of course you have the default mastery package, and pretty much the differing is going to be the weapons layouts and the seating.
It's really interesting that they each one is different. All right. Again, that information was not on the wiki, so there you go. Thank you for doing the research. Next on our list are the patrol escorts. And this is one of my favorite tier 5 ships, which is why I have it separated out, and I still actually have it in my list. I fly it every once in a while. At the tier 6 version of the patrol escort is a 5-2 plus experimental. The tier 5 versions are 4-3s. However, one of them has a tail gun dual cannon that fires behind you. And it is affected by cannon firing modes. So, if you do scatter volley, you'll have things firing behind you in a spread. It's really cool.
Fire out your aft.
Pretty much, yes. You're firing out your aft. The mastery package on these is the same as the default escorts, but man, I love that tail gun. I was hoping the tier 6 version would be able to equip the tail gun, but it can't. I was so disappointed.
All right, so now we have the tactical escorts. This is mainly the Defiant family. There is also a another There's a tactical pilot escort, though it looks slightly different in its setup. Anyway, so the tactical escort, which you have the a 4-3 with an experimental setup. There is also a 5-2, which actually I think is where the pilot one is. It's a 5-2 with an experimental. So you have the Defiant class. Then you have the which oddly the Defiance. So we have the standard like the Valiant class here, and then the other like the legendary Defiant is a legendary pilot warship because they made it different. Because why not?
Yeah, so it's a warship, not a tactical escort, which
Yeah.
again is weird, but it's not the first time or the last time that they've done that.
They really do like to shuffle things up, don't they?
But it too is very similar. I think it even has. Oh, here, let me double check. Oh no, it looks like it has the warship package. Because that is, yeah, because it has both devastating and enhanced. Yeah, it's got the warship package, so that is why it's in the warship family. But that's why some people get confused on why certain ships have some things, but then the same ship, but in legendary format, they altered it enough that it's now not exactly the same.
Tabby already covered the Strike Wing Escorts, which was next on our list. So
I did.
I'll do the escort carrier. So this is a new type of ship that they brought back, which is weird. Like they used to use the term escort carriers for the heavy escorts, and then they changed it to Strike Wing Escorts. Now they've decided to reuse that title of escort carrier. There is only one in the game right now, and that's the Typhon class. It has a 4-3 weapons layout. It does not use the experimental, right? Just the 4-3.
Yeah, no experimental.
It has 2 hangar bays, and it has a unique, what is unique at the moment, mastery package. It's got quick deployment, which reduces the recharge time to launch carriers, and gives the pets 50% rank up XP. It has armored hull, which is plus 10% hull hit points. Enhanced weapon systems, which is that 10% kinetic and energy damage. And then advanced shield systems, which adds 10% to the shield systems, to the shield hull points or health points, hit points, whatever they call it for shields. So it looks like they've added some survivability and, of course, the quick deployment, which is important for carriers. That's a fun ship to fly.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's the one that I'm flying tonight. In fact,
And this works well with the question we just had in chat. Wouldn't the Adamant be considered a TAC escort? No, they gave it the heavy Raider, they gave it the Raider package. It's got the Raider Mastery, which is what our next group of ships are. Raiders are 5-1 with an experimental, like the Adamant, or they are 4-2, and the thing about Raiders, they get Raider flanking. Oh, come on. There's. Oh, do they not call them Raiders that are in the KDF side?
They're birds of prey. All the birds of prey are Raiders.
But yeah. So it has the Raider flanking advantage. So you get a boost for shooting your enemies in their aft. And then the Raiders have a slightly different mastery package. And when I say slightly, it's the same for the first 3 levels. And then when you get to the 4th level, instead of having the devastating weaponry, which is a critical hit chance increase, you have enhanced weapon banks, which is 15% crit severity. So you just get a little more crit damage going than yeah. And for Fed side, they actually just put Raider on them. ADF side, you have to you in the description it'll tell you if it's got Raider flanking or not. Yeah, you have to read a little bit more because you got the Terran Eagle Pilot Raider, and then you got the Terran Adamant Intel Heavy Raider. And then after that, it's Birds of Prey.
Interesting.
Then you have Raptors. Raptors are. Let's see. Looks like Klingon. Let's see. Do Romulans? I don't think Romulans have Raptors. It's just Raptors are a Klingon thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Let's see. Raptors are pretty much comparable to Escorts. Same and the same mastery package as the default Escort. And I don't think much interesting going on there other than that.
No, they are a little bit bigger than obviously the Raiders. So they do have a bit of a slower turn rate than a lot of the other, like some of the Escorts. But yeah, they're still pretty maneuverable.
They tend to be pretty close to the Federation Escorts, where the Birds of Prey were more maneuverable but lighter armored and less hull points. However, the Federation has Raiders now too, so take that as you will. Okay, so then we get into the ship classes that are kind of the midway point between escorts and cruisers. The first of these are the destroyers, which is actually what I'm flying. I'm in the Terran Hydra Intel destroyer tonight. Destroyers can either have the 4-3 plus experimental or 5-2 experimental. Again, that's what the Hydra has, is 5-2. And I actually tossed the new experimental on here. I like that thing. I don't know how it actually stacks up, but I like it. For their mastery package, they, as we mentioned with the advanced escorts, which I might be wrong on now that I realize this because this is a destroyer. So the destroyer package is precise weapon systems, which is +5 accuracy, enhanced weapon banks, which is +15 crit severity, devastating weaponry, which is 2.5% crit chance, and enhanced weapon systems, which is 10% kinetic and energy damage. So this is another example of, this is considered an advanced escort because you can still move over the multi-vector assault mode console, the old one. It came with the newer one. But the mastery package is different. So on the other advanced escorts, you're going to have the basic, the standard escort mastery. And then on this one, because it's a destroyer, you have the destroyer mastery. Interesting that they would flip that.
And there's some weird ships that are in between classes if you type in destroyer that are, yeah. We might have to do a hybrid to like cover certain things or just slap them in with, yeah. It's like the Titan is a science destroyer. It's got similarities to the destroyer family, but differences. But the last thing we have are our warships.
Warships.
Destroyer, like, so juggernauts were mentioned to be similar to destroyers, but like I said earlier, we kind of left them out because they fit, to me, better with cruisers due to their sheer size. Because we're talking about like the Vodwar America Worker Juggernaut, the liberated Borg ship, you know, those are both fairly large. Not exactly an escort size ship. But with warships, they also are very similar to the destroyers. They share the destroyer mastery package. They are typically, basically, they're escorts without the experimental weapon slot. And they come in flavors of being 4-4 or 5-3 setup, depending upon which one you're looking at. I think a lot of them are 5-3, but I wouldn't. I was going to say, with as much differences as they've made with ships, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a 441 out there somewhere. But yeah. But it looks like the majority are 5.3s without an experimental. And none of them have an experimental, so they're good ships, though. I'm in one right now, the Jem'Hadar Vanguard warship.
I used to fly that.
Ooh.
I like that ship.
I like it better than the Legendary. Call me
It's
weird.
a little bit heavier. It's the Legendary is a raider more or less, so it's a little bit squishier. The warship has a little bit more survivability.
As I'm now like changing some stat or some things around, I'm like, why didn't I do this? When you look at your build and you're like, huh. That's escorts and a lot of their families such as. Anyone have questions? Did we miss something?
When we get to some of the other ships, there's going to be some crossover. Like there are science warships, there are science destroyers.
Well, we'll probably be mentioning the escort carrier again because when we get to the carriers.
Yeah. Well, it's both an escort and a carrier, so why not? So yeah, we will do some overlap as we cover these. I believe the plan is to do cruisers for next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did leave out warbirds, but that's partially because warbirds have a whole nother package set up and whatnot because they have singularity cores. So that alters. They altered what mastery packages could offer because a lot of it works with the singularity core.
Singularity cores are just weird.
Yeah, so we kind of left them out. I mean, not saying they're bad ships or anything. We just like they need their own feature. Yeah.
They're not bugs, they're features.
They need their own feature episode.
Yes, they do. I agree with that. Oh, it won't let me switch the console.
Oh, I got server not responding. Wait, okay, we're fine.
It's back, maybe. Oh, that's interesting. It is going to reconnect me. Okay, I switched the console out, and it took a minute to reconnect the ship. Do you guys want to? Do you want to do the daily, or you want to do the universal?
Let's do the daily.
Okay. So now we're done talking,
because
so we get to go blow stuff up.
Yeah, because like we were talking about the escort ships, and the universal is a ground. Wee
woo.
Okay.
And Dwayne, we agree. That's why we're going to put warbirds in an entirely their own episode. Yes, we will. I clicked accept. I think I saw Tabby click accept.
Yes, we all said wee woo.
Oh, wee woo, woo wee.
We woo, we woo, we did.
We to the woo.
Hmm.
You two are going to run into each other.
Nope. Just missed. Space is a big place.
So talking about that, while we're getting ready to blow stuff up here, I had an interesting conversation about Star Trek on one of the Facebook pages I follow. People were asking what happens to the ordnance that is shot off into space, that misses its target. Specifically, they were talking about torpedoes. And in the discussion of torpedoes, they also brought up the floating coffins, because those are just fired into space. So the conversation went round and round, but essentially, I pointed out that in most of the shows, when they were doing a funeral and they fired one of those torpedo coffins out, they would aim it at a star. So it's not just floating endlessly around space. It is on its way to be burned up in a star. There are cases, however, where it didn't work. Like there's one notable exception where Harry Kim is fired off into space and somebody intercepts it.
It all depends on the show or movie if they had plot on what to do with the coffin after the fact. It is what I've noticed with Star Trek. And what I mean is, like, one was fired at a planet that then turned into a whole big ordeal.
I think firing at the planet was like it was supposed to burn up in the atmosphere. I think that was the plan. Obviously, that didn't happen, but I don't know. Like the discussion was about phasers as well, or other energy types. But I kind of think it's the same deal where, well, we know phasers have a maximum range.
Well,
That
I mean,
was brought up in-
phasers being energy will eventually like dissipate. It'll only stay a focused energy beam for X amount of time before it dissipates into nothingness.
Yeah.
Photon torpedoes are antimatter in a casing, so it'll only go for a certain amount of time before it self-destructs, before the warhead breaks down and just explodes on its own.
True. I also believe that they're programmed with a maximum distance. Like if they just get too far out, they will self-destruct.
Right. And as far as like corpses, funereal corpses, I mean, they could just float through space until they, like, if they're not aimed at a planetary body or star or other celestial object, they will just kind of drift through space, being affected by the gravitational eddies until they get captured by something.
Yeah, that was brought up too. The initial question was, does stuff like that just float around space until it runs into another ship? And what happens if that ship isn't advanced enough to withstand the weaponry? So are just random people dying in space to these floating torpedoes? And again, I don't think that's the case, just because they are programmed. Most of them are programmed with a maximum range, at which point they self-destruct. But even then, even if that's not the case, space is huge. The chance of something like a torpedo just randomly running into something else out there is astronomical.
Yeah.
So anyone,
the weaponry isn't going to pose a risk for any appreciable length of time.
Go ahead, Grebog. Sorry.
I was going to say, anyone using the new console with the subspace fracture tunnel, you're going to find some interesting things on this map. Don't mind me looking through the ground right now.
Did you go through the clip?
I've gotten really close to going through the ground several times.
That's funny.
And yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Like, going, even if they let's say everything failed, it didn't blow up at a certain distance and whatnot, it would eventually a strong enough gravitational pull would suck it in, and that would be that. Whether it be a black hole, a star, or a large planet. But eventually it's gonna meet something. As for a ship, I found out that our asteroid belt and our own solar system that there is hundreds of miles between each asteroid.
Yeah, the cinematic asteroid belt where like things are like bouncing off of each other and you have to worry about running into anything is hogwash.
Yeah, I learned that out. I'm like going, well, that kind of like takes a lot of the fun out of many shows, because yeah, they make it look like it's going to be really hard to get from here to there because you got to fly through an asteroid belt. Yeah, apparently you just oh hey, we're gonna have to adjust our course by 1 degree and we'll miss the any asteroid as we go through.
Is it Voyager that's either in that asteroid belt or already past that asteroid belt now?
I don't.
We have a probe that is way out there, and
Oh,
that I saw a video about
it's
that
gone.
where somebody.
I think it's exceeded our planetary system, if I remember correctly.
It's okay. Yeah, somebody asked how could just a probe get through the asteroid belt without getting smashed? And the response was, yeah, there's a lot of space between asteroids. A lot.
One of the great games was Kerbal Space Program 1, not 2. It made me realize how vast space is. How hard it really is to purposely get two entities to bump into each other for like even a dock sequence. The planetary mechanics of it all, like, it's not as easy as you think.
Sorry for the random conversation. I just thought it was interesting, and since it had to do with Star Trek, I would share. All right, so Monday. Monday, I don't know exactly what we're going to be doing. Probably Klingon characters again, I would think.
That sounds good.
Sure.
Unless we come up with something else, or if somebody requests us to do something else. Once again, we are happy on those Monday fun nights if somebody needs help getting past a difficult mission, or just wants somebody to run some missions with them, or help leveling, or ship mastery, or whatever. Come join us. We are happy to bring you into our team, and we will help you with whatever it is that you might need. But if nobody hits us up for that, yeah, we'll probably just run our KDF characters because our KDF fleet still needs some help. We're getting there. We're getting there. It's just a slow process.
Yeah.
And then next Thursday, we're going to do a similar episode to tonight, but we're going to cover carriers.
Carriers?
Sorry, cruisers. We're going to cover cruisers. One of the C words. And yeah, I may not be here. I am scheduled to work until 8 p.m., 2 hours before we start. Hopefully I can finagle it to get off work on time, but there's always the chance that I might catch a late run. So I will try to keep you guys updated as to what's going on for that. But of course I won't know until it gets closer to time.
Alrighty.
Anybody else got anything? Did I forget anything?
I think that's about it.
Okay. Oh, just real quick. When I put the Hydra together tonight, I was looking at all kinds of different skins. I like the design of this ship, but the Bussard collectors were a solid red, and it wasn't even shiny, and I didn't like it. And I eventually did find a vanity shield that changed it to this pretty white.
That's
and
cool.
I like this a lot better. Anybody who's curious, it is the Omega Force vanity shield that gave it that white appearance. So
Omega Force.
take that as you will. I kind of dig it. I think that's going to be the skin I use for this ship forever. Okay, and as always, I will leave you with the words that Q said to Picard. See you out there.
Be fun, have safe, and don't set yourselves on fire.
Stick around. We will be rating somebody But yeah. Live long and prosper, everybody. Computer, end program.